Hello parents and students, we're here to give you a quick tutorial on Chapter 1, Lesson number 2, which is rounding to the nearest tens or hundreds. The first thing we do when we're teaching the students about rounding is we want to teach them what the definition of rounding is, and we share with them that rounding is when you find a number that tells you about how much or about how many, keyword being about. We also introduce the students to the idea of a rounding roller coaster, and I'm going to share that with you. So we think of a number, a set of 10 in the shape of a roller coaster. If we're looking in between the numbers of 30 and 40, 30 being on one side of the roller coaster, 40 being on the other side of the roller coaster, the numbers are going to go up the roller coaster as they get bigger, and then go down the roller coaster on the other side. And what we show to them is that with a number, as the number is increasing and going up the roller coaster, if we were to stop on, say, number 33 here, does it have enough momentum to push itself all the way over the roller coaster? Well, no, so it's going to slide back down to the number 30. Whereas a number like 37 is kind of already past the big, hill of the roller coaster, and it's going to slide down to 40 with power and momentum. That is kind of one visual that we give to students so they can see how rounding works, but we like to then transition into rounding using place value. So we're going to do a couple examples. The first number that we're going to use is the number 32, and I printed up this little label to kind of stick on here so you can see the way we show rounding with place value. So I have the number 32 and I want to round to the tens place. So all the first examples we're going to do are to the tens. I look at the number in the tens place. So for in this example, the number in the tens place is a 3. Then I want to look next door to its neighbor. Next door, the number is a 2. So if I look at my chart, 1, 2, 3, 4 equals stays the same, which means since this is a 2, the number in the tens place is going to stay the same. So the 3 stays a 3, and any additional numbers change to 0. So 32 would round to 30. Another example could be maybe the number 47. So I have the number 47 and I'm planning to round into the tens place. So I underline the number in the tens place, which is the 4. I look next door to its neighbor, which is a 7. If I look at my refresher, which we use at the beginning to let them be able to have a visual, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9 rounds up. So since the number next door is a 7, that means my underlined digit, which was in my tens place, the 4, is now going to round up and become a 5. And then the 7 turns to a 0. So 47 rounds to 50. One more example in the tens place, we can go with the number 63. I look in the tens place, I have a 6. I go next door, the number is a 3. My rule says that 1, 2, 3, and 4 stays the same, so my 6 is going to stay the same, and then the 3 becomes a 0. We can do the same process if we're rounding into the hundreds place. So now let's look at a number in the hundreds. I have the number 245, and I want to round to the hundreds place. So I want to look in the hundreds place where my 2 is. I can go next door to the 2. I see that it's a 4. So then since it's a 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4 stays the same. The 2 is going to stay a 2, and then the other 2 digits are going to turn into zeros. So it rounds to 200. 682. I underline my value in the hundreds place because we're rounding to the hundreds. I look next door, and I have an 8. Since the 8 falls in the 5 through 9 category, I'm going to have to round up. So my 6 is going to become a 7, and then my 2 extra digits become zeros. This process follows through for all of the place values. Where it becomes tricky for the children is when we start talking about numbers that are in the hundreds, but we want to round to tens. So I'm looking to round to tens now, but my number is 246. So we have to make sure that the child can identify that which number is in the tens place, which for this one would be 4. So the 4 is in the tens place. And then we look to the right and we have a 6. So since the 6 is next door, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, it rounds up So the 4, because that's the tens place, the 4 is going to become a 5. The 6 is going to turn to a 0, but we need to keep this 2 in front of it. So it becomes 250. We can do one more example of these.